Where you gotta go? 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 Hey, how are you? Everything's good. You. I mean, it's been 6 months and I be looking crazy when I heard 2 extra names called. I'll be like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Get used to it.
Also, hey, Miss Mara, real how she was called. They said, I'm fine now. I will come working. And this I want to get back on track with starting a new more time for August. If you have a forum at 6, I'm gonna go ahead and start. Okay, I just want to let everybody. I'm tired. I didn't say something wrong. Took me a truck roll. After the last mother cooked the truck roll, she made me think about it. I cooked the truck roll. You did not come back with peppermint. You had one job. I know. You had one job to come back here with a piece of peppermint. It is now 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Shay, may I have a roll call vote? Present.
Here.
Here. Here. Like a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Thank you. So I'll restate this. Can we have an approval of the agenda? I have a motion to, I have a second. All in favor? I'm calling for excellence.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board members, colleagues, and community. Today, I'm going to be presenting Riverview Excellence with the help of Dr. Tanya Patton. And we're doing something a little bit differently. This meeting, we're going to be providing some certificates to individuals who are present. Individuals who are not present tonight, we will deliver those certificates to them. Then to those individuals who are present, please come up to get your certificate and shake the hands of our superintendent and board president. All right, I'm going to go ahead and proceed. So the following individuals are being recognized under Riverview Excellence for Distinction. We have Precious Berry, a Riverview Gardens High School scholar. Nancy Brown, a teaching assistant at Highland Elementary School. Ebony Jones, kindergarten teacher at Highland Elementary School. Travis Ford Sr., the principal at Highland Elementary School. Ms. Lakina Curtis, the director of federal programs. Dr. Candace Ramey, assistant principal at Gibson Elementary School. I'm going to give these to Dr. Patton. And I'll explain the reasoning for each one, and then if you come up at that point. So Precious Berry. Precious Berry in front of us, but congratulations for Riverview Excellence. Yes.
And she's a Delwood resident.
And she's a Delwood resident, absolutely. She's worked with Mayor Jones. Also, Miss Nancy Brown and Ebony Jones of Highland Elementary, I don't believe they're here this evening, but they are being recognized for their efforts in honoring Colonel Kenneth Gregory, the Chief of Police for St. Louis County. And Highland Elementary put on a wonderful recognition event for Chief Gregory on April 7. And many of us were there. Superintendent Dr. Pruitt-Adams was there. They brought people from the community there, and it was just a wonderful event. So we wanted to recognize them for their efforts in putting forth that event. Also, Highland Elementary Principal Travis Ford Sr., he was nominated to be recognized just for the transformation that's happened at Highland Elementary School. There has been a noticeable welcoming change in the atmosphere, the cleanliness, and the overall environment, including The events such as the one honoring Chief Gregory, the Highland Market was set there. They had a nice event for that earlier this year. So we wanted to honor Mr. Travis Ford Sr. Next, Ms. Lakina Curtis and Dr. Candace Ramey. Dr. Ramey is not here. That's on me. I did not let her know in time. But they stepped into action at Lewis and Clark Elementary on Friday, April 29th. Lewis and Clark they were short of staff due to various issues. And so some administrators and other central office employees stepped into action. But we want to recognize Ms. Curtis and Dr. Ramey specifically. And they helped to ensure the scholars were able to have a positive learning environment on that day, even though that there were a lot of people that were out. So we just want to recognize them for going above and beyond. And that's really what Riverview Excellence is all about. Are there any questions? All right, thank you.
I'd like to know if anyone has any. I just wanted to say to all of the staff that sacrificed for the state visit and all of you all that came out next day, that Saturday, I just wanted you to know that I appreciate you and thank you. I thought that our training session was really, really a good session. I really thoroughly enjoyed it and looking forward to more, but I just wanted to personally thank you all for the sacrifice of your Saturday come out on our behalf. So I just want to say. Anyone else? Shay, are there any patrons that would like for the board? We would then move forward to our superintendent's report.
Thank you. I want to thank the people who are not in this room, who are a part of the turnaround committee, and those who are in this room. Under a very short timeline, we got the committee organized and we held interviews to select a vendor that will be presented to you tonight. I just look forward to working with the group and the transformation that is going to happen in our district as a result of the work. I also want to thank the schools, everyone, first of all, in the district for the great support that you gave last Friday when the Missouri State Board of Education was here. But a special thanks to the principal name at the high school, to Mr. Clark, Miss Bennett, and Dr. Perry, who stood in her place as she was at her daughter's graduation. They did a great presentation just about the work that they've been doing with our scholars through the pandemic. To Ms. Amber White and Moline and her team for the emotional presentation, just about community and a sense of everyone being on the same page, our scholars saying how they felt seen, our teachers saying how they felt seen, and the wonderful green beans that we were served. And I had the luxury of sitting at the table with a future singer that invited me back for the talent show. And a thank you to Mr. Dominic Wolf, took us on a walk down History Lane at Westview Middle School, and then talked about all of the creative things that are going to happen there this summer, the work that's taking place there. So thank you. I want to thank Shannon Abrams for food. It was great Friday and Saturday. And I also want to thank Yvonne Green for going above and beyond to make sure that things were ready. To our travel guide, Levon Singleton, and to first student. We could not have done this without everyone pulling together to happen. And to members of my team, I also want to say we had a wonderful retreat. I think we were all a little bit tired from Friday, but we got through it. And I think everyone learned a lot. And I was excited because it is the first of quarterly retreats that we will have with the board. As you know, I sent out a video update that, and that's what Ishmael and I plan to do on a regular basis, just to keep our internal community, but our external community abreast of things going on in our district. On Saturday, there's a cleanup at Castle Point. Lewis and Clark serves as the pivotal site for that cleanup. There's been a walkthrough with some people from the construction company. They're going to be cutting down trees. They're going to be doing things on the parking lot. If you have an opportunity to go by the Saturday, 7, maybe goes to 12:30 or 1, but if you get an opportunity, please go by. And I believe it's being sponsored by, Business Council and Urban League. And then, as you know, on next week, myself and Ms. Laura Real and several members of the team will travel to Jeff City and give an update on our district. We will discuss where we are with regards to map testing right now. We will also give an update on vacancies, and they've asked us to celebrate those things that we've had since the start of school, but also identify some of the challenges that we are having. And then also on May the 24th, we are inviting everyone in listening range through this meeting to join us on May the 24th at 7:30 at Westview Middle School for a community conversation with the State Board of Education. They need to hear everybody's voices. And I want to comment now on the technology committee. Thank you for the technology that you put in the room. As you can see, we have a split view, a very clear resolution. And so as we move forward with our board meetings, I just want to thank you for making this happen. That concludes my announcement.
Now move to item 7, item for information.
Okay, our first item is the ESS update. It is being presented just as an update. ESS is our substitute provider. This item is coming forth. It is compliant with board policy GB1, part-time and substitute employment. Ms. Monica Williams, the superintendent for curriculum and instruction, will introduce our guest, Becky Chappell, Vice President of Operations, who provide an update, and I don't know Courtney's last name. Courtney Washington.
Administrative Board of Colleagues and Community. Tonight, we will have an informational item from ESS, which is our guest teacher provider, substitute teacher provider, and they provide an annual report at the end of the school year and an update. After participation, feel free to ask questions. Provider. So Ms. Rebecca will come.
But I just want to say thank you for having us. The information that I have pulled is from the beginning of May, so it's not the full year yet. We still have a few days to go in school, but it will give us a snapshot of what we're looking for. So I'm new to this particular area. Just the past few weeks, I've stepped into and will be overseeing it and working with Courtney. I'm not new to ESS. I've been with the company 5 years, and I've worked with several districts. So I'm excited to see what we can get done over the course of this summer. So this is our year-to-year comparison from last year and this year. So this year we had a total of 12,734 requests requiring a substitute. The fills are at 5985 as of May 2nd. So I did put a note on there that even though we filled more as of last year, we should hit that benchmark by the end of the month. So it would be a more equal comparison. Obviously, the fill rates are not where we want to be, but we're pretty even on our fills, which does need to increase. The fill rate difference obviously is due to the large difference in the requests from last year to this year. And we've seen that change due to COVID or any other reasons, whether it's staffing shortages or increase in absences over the year. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that compares to next school year with a full school year in session. So that would be a more accurate depiction of that. So I did pull and break out the fill rates by school. So this presentation will be shared with you all as well, obviously, so you can see it one by one. and go through the slides. But as you can see, I'm sure you know your higher volume schools, but we did break that out with who had the struggles of unfilled versus filled. Obviously, Central Middle is something that Courtney and I have already spoken about to focus a lot of specific recruiting to that particular school. So that's one of the things when I came in a few weeks ago is to focus on where our lowest rates are, where our struggles are, and what our action plans are to go forward. So we can make sure through the summer that we're set up for better success at the start of the school year next year. So this is one I wanted to break down and show because as the fill rate doesn't show the increase in the work that has been done. I know there was a pay raise increase in January for the long term. If you're just looking at the overall fill rate, you won't necessarily see that impact and think that it's helped. But the month over month comparison does show that we have more substitutes working every day. And a lot of that has to do with one, the pay raise going up for those long terms. And two, I think just with Courtney being in this position, she has been able to recruit more substitutes than has previously been done, just with her networking and being out in the community. You can see starting in January, our rates, our requests were much larger than before, and we were able to fill over 700. And you can start to see that consistently being rating up each month, with April being our highest fill by far of 900. So even though the fill rate is fixing it because the requests are matching it and going up as well, but we're excited to see that what we're doing is working. We just got to get more in there to show that impact on the fill rate. So some of the talent acquisition and recruiting. So one of the big pieces, and that's something that I have a lot of experience in with my previous districts and previous team, is the grassroots recruiting piece. And that's something I will say that I don't know how much of it was done before, and some of it was done, but there needs to be a big increase in that. And Courtney has done a great job of being out and about. We're actually will be at the diversity job fair tomorrow. And then she attended the equity fair this past Saturday and hosted our own past few weeks. So, but we're very big on grassroots and boots on the ground recruiting. So you will see her out in your schools. She goes out and visits the schools, especially if there's any issues. But we need to know about the bad stuff, but we also need to know about the good stuff and to recognize hardworking substitutes that are showing up every day. So employee recognition programs, we have them at the corporate level. Courtney will be working on those at a district level to recognize just the Riverview substitutes, 1 or 2 substitutes a month, and start presenting that. So that's something that's up in this school year. The next school year, and just being out and about more, community festivals, events, visiting your schools, whether it's car pickup lines, any of those things. I live on the motto that you have better and increased communication. It's gonna lead to better relationships, which is in turn going to lead to better recruitment. So those are our 3 main focuses as we move forward this summer and in this school year strong. So she has been out putting, I saw some signs out front as well, but some ESS signage everywhere. We've got custom flyers that have made. She has, we are members of the Chamber of Commerce. So I hope to be able to show you and report back some of the great things we get to do over the summer when we do our mid-year reviews. So this is just an example of some of the recruitment flyers. We do have some customized ones that Courtney has ordered and I believe she has some with her today too as well. So you'll start seeing more of that distribution as we go around and more of the schools. So recruitment updates to hire for year to date as of May 2nd when I pulled this, we hired 30 of the district original substitutes, so substitutes that were with the district prior. New hires since started total was 120. Since this school year is 47, 21 of those have been this semester. I will say just my goals that have to be higher because we have vacancies to fill, but we also need that day-to-day coverage. So when we haven't hired as many as we need to, then all year you're kind of playing catch up, so to speak. So summer is really our oriented goal of we have our numbers that we need to hire, we're going to hit it, we have to be everywhere to do that. So that way when we start the school year, we're better set up for success moving forward. So currently we have 126 people in the substitute pool, but those that are actually actively working are 68. So that number has dropped. And so part of what we're doing is reaching back out to the non-working substitutes, which we do find a lot of people will come back. but just to survey them. Are you interested in coming back? Why aren't you working? What was it that we can help you with to try to retain some of those? Obviously, not all of them will come back, but we want to do our due diligence to the people that we've already vetted to make sure and see if they want to come back to work. So, and the target subpool here is 270 active substitutes. So we have a goal of a little over 200 to hire before Labor Day. That's what I gave my team to gave Ms. Courtney to hire. But it's not just first. That is something else I want to mention is that we are. I am adding in a recruiter for this area. So we're actually been doing interviews this week, and hopefully we'll have somebody named before the end of the week, and also bringing in the applicant specialist, which does assist with our hires to help process them. So we should have 2 additional staff to help us throughout the school year and help us get through the summer and hit our goals. So one of the initiatives that we did from ESS is we know there's struggles all around getting folks hired. So as a company, we decided to do the Kickstart Program. So anybody that works 25 days, they get reimbursed any credentialing costs, just their background, if they had a TB test, anything like that. So for here, it would be the background cost as long as they work 25 days. We extended that through September 30th. So all of our applicants are notified that we will reimburse them for any onboarding as long as they work their minimum of the 25 days. Another thing that we did and to go along with that is we raised our referral program. So this is something for everybody. You don't even have to be an ESS employee or be with the district. You can earn $100 per successful referral. So we wanted to share that out with the community and get the word out that if it's your church, if it's your church friend or your neighbor that doesn't even work for the school district, as long as if they refer somebody and they get hired on and work their minimum days, they can earn the $100. So it's a great way to, that's the number one way that we get folks word of mouth. So that's why it's so important for us to be out in the community and establish those relationships. PLI is a sister company of ours. I believe that you all just recently partnered with PLI, from understanding, the virtual. Met with them. Okay, I wasn't sure if you all had partnered with them or not, but they are a great resource to help fill vacancies. So they are a sister company of us, and we utilize them a lot in some of the same districts. So it's a great way to have certified Missouri educators in your positions when you're struggling to find it to be secondary positions or specialized positions. So that's a good option. Beginning in April, so when I joined on with Courtney, we began the virtual town halls with our existing substitutes. So not only do we need to increase the communication within our schools and our administrators, but with our existing substitutes is super important. So we've been holding town halls bi-weekly, just a question and answer session for our current substitutes to get their feedback. And if there's any questions they have for us, and it's gone very well. So we have our next ones this Thursday. So we're excited to continue with that. They appreciate the open communication, along with bringing in some texting communications that they didn't have previously. And as I mentioned about the Substitute of the Month program that will be coming at the start of this year. I can say that, it's not the monetary. Everybody loves to be recognized for a job well done. You put a certificate together, you recognize them before their class, and give them something special. People deserve to be recognized for showing up every day and pushing through and doing a great job. So we're excited to do that, along with some local based incentives for gift card on struggling days. We do a lot of incentives that are at a corporate level, but again, to bring them to the local based level so that our folks have a better chance to win. They're only competing with each other in their sub pool, and you get more people engaged to come to work if you kind of incentivize. Okay, and then our summer plans, we are working on a substitute appreciation event. So we will pull the subs, kind of survey them to see, our substitutes, to see if they would like to have a drop-in event or if they would like us to bring gifts to their schools. We like to show our appreciation at the end of the school year. We will be sending out return to work surveys for all of our substitutes, see if we can get as many retained. Obviously, as I mentioned about re-engaging our current non-working subs, lots of hiring events going on through the summer. So you'll hear about all those, and we'll be sharing all of those throughout the month as I put 200 new sub hires, recruit. Also, we'll be sending out, I'll be sharing a principal survey, which I didn't put on there as well, but with the district principals, we want to know the feedback and honest feedback from the school. So how are we doing? What are your areas of concern? So we can again make those action plans and have those addressed at the start of the school year. So that should be going out. Nothing?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't say yes to Dr. Beck.
Sure.
Central Middle by far has the greatest need.
Mhm.
And I know it's because maybe more people there, but even Westview, which is another middle school,
Mhm.
is a lot lower. So
Right.
what is that reason?
I'm not as familiar, and I apologize. I've only been here a few weeks. Courtney, can you speak? I know she works with schools a lot. If you want to come up here and speak about Central Middle, because I did ask about that. And I think she has better insight as to maybe the struggle would be there, or if we get back from our substitutes about that.
As it relates to Central Middle, what we're doing is we hire the substitute teachers, and instead of them being day to day, they are long term. So they are there every day, but they're filling positions as if they were a prep teacher. And at Westview, what we're trying to do too, we have the hardest fill rate for the middle school. So what we're trying to do is, yes, everywhere. So what we're trying to do now is target the schools that have the low rates. But the community, I'm in the community every day, like at Highland Elementary. I'm there like 2 times out of a week. So when I speak to the part of substitute as it relates to the field rate, I understand what the greatest needs are, and ones that I'm really focused on middle schools. Now the elementaries, yes, but for the most part, that 200 the 200 subs that we actually need, we're going to have those to be staffed for the middle school.
To get feedback or something from, is there a challenge, feel it, or to like, they don't want to work, that's what I'm trying to see. If that's what I would ask. Are they pushing back and not wanting to work there, or?
The subs, I probably can get them to last about 2 weeks in the middle school.
So it sounds like what she mentioned, focus on the recruitment for middle school, but also on the right spread. They're out there, and across the nation is always the hardest to deal. But if you have other challenges there, and I think that's part of me coming in to help identify what those challenges are and meeting with the principals and the substitutes, see if we can find a common thread, so that way we can start figuring it out.
Yeah, and I know middle schools was an issue, but Central is so far beyond Westview.
Right.
So I was
So
just
there
wondering
has
what
to
the,
be something,
you know.
and that, I like to work a puzzle and solve a problem. So to me, that just gives to meet with them.
And Mr. Jones speak to the field rate for Westview. So my job as the ESS district manager for the orientation, what I do is provide lesson plans because I want them to be successful in the classroom. And one of the subs, the feedback that they gave me is the plan. So in 7.5 hours, if you don't have a lesson plan, that's probably 95% of your problem.
We gave them back.
Yeah, do you have statistics on the time rate overall where a teacher calls a teacher and she declines?
Oh, like a rejection of like not wanting to
Yeah.
work. I can probably dig in and pull that. Yeah, I know we have like a cancel report to see who like accepts jobs and then backs out of them. But I can anything that's in there, I just need, yes, I can find that.
Okay, and I'm not asking again to have a decline rate. After so many declines, are they not called anymore?
Yeah, so I have them, we kind of handle that we will be handling that. I don't know how they were handling it previously, but Courtney and I, for the non-working, or if anybody rejects the job, or there's a pattern of accepting and canceling, or just not working at all, we can determine to deactivate them. So that's part of what I'm working on with Courtney, is to notify all of these people that are not working, what's the reason, and we plan to come back and give them a set amount of time that they have to accept the job. Because a lot of people say they will come back and work, but then when you offer them an assignment, they won't take it. So yes, we are working now, but it's our determination, and we want active people that are Really.
So as it relates to DESE, which is the Department of Education, you can have 20 20-hour course that you can receive your college, not college credit, but you can receive the training. So what happens is when I make the decision to put a long-term sub in the situation as Mr. Jones was speaking about, it wouldn't be someone with a 20-hour, well, a 20-hour course. So what that means is we look for certified individuals that have 60 credit hours as it relates to a long-term position. And the 20-hour course, you have to do probably day to day. So we wouldn't put them in a compromising position as it relates to long-term situation. That's long-term. So
But I think your question too is we could pull a report, have them all sorted out by like pay code and experience. So I would say the majority, I can't give a track attendance for probably college credit for because we so vacancies for day to day. But I could get that ratio for you because we have it in our we pay them. So that was one of them. That. Yeah, so we have, I think we get a, I understand usually in most districts, a pretty wide range of college credits and up, bachelor's and up. So we can take a look and see if there's a specialized area that's needed for your. Well, we all set up like those where they fall again. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, so we recruit, train, hire, and pay them, and then in turn fill the district. Okay, well they don't volunteer able to be a part of the.
That's the first time I've been asked that.
Pardon? I was just asking.
Could they be a part of the
union? I'm
Because
aware
I thought
of
they
this
needed to
wording
be
is-
certified teachers. I don't know if St. Louis Public School has hired teachers.
And they have,
themselves.
St. Louis Public has some stuff that work for them. Work for us, so I'm guessing those that are. Fine. You're welcome.
Any additional, okay?
I know that teachers are often given a survey to take after someone to,
Yes.
how was stuff, but do you give your sub surveys? Maybe they could have a survey to show their experience like at that school, and then that information be given to the principal, so that he or she could see, what support could be given maybe, or what the subs that they needed and they didn't get, or what support they got that they did. And so this would be helpful in understanding why it's hard to get people to come back to subs, fill those spots if you find out where your weaknesses are.
Absolutely. So in our orientation, something that we encourage is about leaving a note for your teacher, like leaving a note for the administrator about how your day was. So we do encourage that. And then also part of our virtual town halls and communications that we're doing with our substitutes is to get feedback too. Like let us know any questions, concerns, or anything that's going on. So we can actually, we can include in that like a survey feedback, kind of like boost that up, get more information in that. Because as long as we know, then we can address it, right?
Something like an online that could go to also to the principal and the leadership at school, to let them know.
We can create a simple survey that were the results below on a spreadsheet that we could share out with them.
Any additional? Thank you all for your.
Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you for
time.
your time.
And I'll-
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to take a moment. We do have one of the Riverview Excellence recipients who was not here earlier. And then we have two people we'd like to introduce. So we're going to do the Riverview Excellence first, and then the
Okay. Sorry for the confusion. Thank you again for allowing me to come up, Special Administrative Board members. I didn't see my new Communications Secretary. I just wanted to introduce her to the board. She was approved on April 12th, but Markayla Goss, yeah, come on up, Markayla. Markayla Goss is the new Communications Secretary for Riverview Garden School District. She's a recent graduate of Harris Stowe State University with a communications degree. She also has experience as a secretary, so I just wanted to allow her to introduce herself. Markayla, like say a couple words to the board.
Good evening. I'm Markayla Goss. As you said, a recent graduate from Harris Stowe State University. I am your communications specialist or communications specialist. Sorry. I'm excited to work here. I really am very excited to start here with Mr. Ishmael. I have some good ideas that I can bring to the table and just help cultivate the communications department and just continue to improve. So I'm excited and thank you for having me here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited to have Markayla on board. She has shown skills. She's excited. She lives in the area. And so I think she's going to be a true asset to Riverview Garden School District.
I'm going to ask Ms. Williams to come up and introduce two other new members to the team.
Okay, may I please have Ms. Keisha Fife come forward and also Ms. Nakia King. These are two of our new principals for the 22-23 school year. Fife, our principal at the start. And Ms. Nakia King,
My name is Keisha Titus Fife. I've been in education for approximately 4 years, with a little bit of background in international education as well. I have some experience with turnaround on the opposite side, so this will be quite interesting and fun. I'm looking forward to it, and thank you again for the opportunity.
So my name is Gibson. I am excited to be a part of the Riverview Garden staff. I look forward to being an asset to Westview Middle, actually having community conversations where we can all embrace and create a learning environment where students can shine and be even more successful.
Our next item is an item for information. It is the KEB audit decline for fiscal year 21-22. Making this presentation is Dr. Levon Single, CFO. Also compliance with policy, fiscal responsibility, and DIE audit.
Thank you. Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt-Adams, colleagues, and community. I will present an informational item. On April 25th, the school district received a letter from our current audit firm, KEB, Kerber, Eck, and Reckel LLP. They have been our auditing company for a number of years, and we put out an RFP a year and a half ago, and they also got the audit as a result of the RFP. They sent us a letter talking about the challenges, the current challenges that the auditing field or accounting industry is enduring. They're just like education. They're having people leave the audit profession. And so they are having trouble replacing their staff, competent auditing staff. And as a result, for 2022, we know that the audit is an annual requirement, so we must have an audit. So the finance department is doing our due diligence. As of today, we have reached out to about 90 other accounting firms in the area to see if there is lines of those 19 firms. And again, the feedback is all related to the lack of capacity. Getting off not here. So I wanted to make sure we share this information with the board, so that the board is well aware that we are doing all that we can to solicit other auditing firms, and we believe that pretty soon, hopefully, we will be able to bring a recommendation to the board for a new audit, or at least current school year. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Is this a problem that all school districts do?
I do believe, Dr. Beckwith, I do not know, I do know the KEP themselves audit multiple school districts, and what they shared was really the dollar amount that they have, about $300,000 in audit business this year. We spent about $45,000 on an annual basis, so that could be anywhere close to 8 to 10 additional schools that they have had to turn down. So I don't think this problem is unique to Riverview Gardens. I think that this is other school districts are experiencing similar challenges.
Dr. Singleton, did we have a contract with this company?
So I should have addressed that earlier, and I knew the question would come. So on an annual basis, our tradition has been not to engage in a contract per se, but we do get an engagement letter. Okay, so on an annual basis, the auditing firm, we sign an engagement letter. Board president signs along with the auditing company, and that has been our past practice is on an engagement. At this particular auditing company, and I asked them, to deal with annual contract, they don't really engage in, and it's simply because of situations that occur like you're not satisfied with auditors, we have the opportunity to part ways and vice versa. So to answer your question, no, we do not have a contract, but we sign an annual engagement letter. They are bound by the engagement letter.
So I have another question, please. When you say a number of years, so we have a relationship then with this company. And what's confusing to me is it's April 25th, 2 months before the year ends. Has there not communication between KEB and you to kind of give you heads up that maybe this is going to happen?
So, good question, Blaine, and to be very honest with you, we were prepared, getting our, this is the time of year where we prepare for the problem. So we were reaching out, getting ready to start work and get our schedules together because they have to come in and do audit work, they have files. And so in our attempt to reach out and start that preliminary work, we were notified very recently, as of April 5th, so probably 2 weeks ago, we were notified that this situation. So we had no forewarning. This, as of 2 weeks ago,
So this is legally from we have the Missouri statutes that say we have to do this.
Yeah.
Do you have a backup plan in case 19 other firms that you contacted said we don't have enough folks?
Well, I tell you what, and I did have a conversation off the record. I told him, it's been quite a while, and I understand the situation you're in, but if we don't have anybody to talk, you're gonna come and do the talk, okay? So, now, I don't know if I can wave the magic wand. I do have contacts outside of other firms, and so we're gonna do all that we can, and I believe we're going to be finding someone. In fact, I got an update from the county manager just a minute ago that there's one firm that doesn't have the capacity. They're wanting to join another firm in partnering to do the audit. And so to assure you, again, we reached out to at least 19 firms, but if it gets to the point where we have to ask firms to kind of combine and kind of split the work, then we're gonna do all we can to make sure that this is fine.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was all. I don't know whether or not this is something that
And I've got contacts with Illinois, so we're on, we're doing all we can. So hopefully, you know, but we just wanted to bring you this update just in case. But I do believe that we. Here. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is the Professional Development Committee Program Evaluation. Making this presentation is Barbara Sharp. This item is in compliance to Board Policy GCL and GCL AP Professional Development Opportunities, and is a part of our CSIP Goal 1 Effective Instruction.
program evaluation for the professional development committee. As I begin looking at the program evaluation, I want to point out to you that at the professional development committee, as required by the Missouri Department of Secondary Education, on this slide, we have the name of building representation. That's to the far right of the slide. To the far left, you're able to see various levels of leadership within the team. So we have a very structured format in terms of next, I'll point out that the professional development committee is required by deputy to have specific, the district is required to have specific mandates and regulations. And so I've listed some of those mandates and regulations for you. One, a mandate and regulation is to have an established and criteria that is also required to have a development plan, but plans and teachers. Is required to by teachers. Allocation of 1% of the state fund is to be allocated for professional development, and the list goes on and on. It's important to have this information so that you understand that your finance and services the CDC for the Riverview Garden School District has we have bylaws. We follow Robert's order, and in that have structure and membership that designates specific information there on the screen. Telling the number of members, and how members are elected, etc. So that is a formal process that's engaged in each year. The next one, continuing talking about structure and membership. Again, we have the leadership, we have the format in terms of roles and responsibilities. We are able to talk about how often the CDC meet, where they meet, and subcommittees, etc. Additionally, we have information regarding the responsibilities of the team. And so there you see here two mandates as designated by the Department of Education. And so any instructional concerns that may emerge in the building, we have a formatted formal process. That information is able to be discussed with CDC. As this representative, I serve as advisor and provide support in that area. An opportunity for confidential support, consultation is
successful in having that event because that was an interest for the teachers. So for other areas, we were able to look at consultants to help with that process. Going to the next one. We also changes continuous alignment of professional learning, constantly looking at the alignment and making sure that the alignment is connected to CSIP and other district initiatives that are going on. I provided for you goals and objectives for the Professional Development Committee. So I have my clip. I provided goals and objectives for the Professional Development Committee. You also have information in terms of the tools and criteria, and you have a lot of different information here in terms of how we evaluate professional development. So on this one page, I looked at tools and criteria to evaluate. So I'm just really just talking about 3 different programs here in terms of structural coaches program, teacher mentoring program, and just the learning events itself. But I bring your attention to the next page in which I'm looking at the professional learning rating. Okay, moving up.
Keep going.
One more.
Keep going to the professional learning rate.
Okay, so one thing I'd like to point out is that the color scheme for us makes a big difference. You see to the far right, you have 2 shades of green. To the far left, you have 2 shades of brown and color. And so obviously we're looking more at information that's to the far right. That's the positive for us. So we're looking at something that says it's a 3 or 4. And that's beneficial for you as a board as you look at the next 2 slides. Because when you look at those 2 slides, you see a variation and change of color green, obviously. But you're able to see from here, we looked at comparison of data from 2 years. So you'll see at the top 2020, 21 school year, and then the previous school year. One goal we had was, number one, to increase the number of people who responded to the surveys. So we went from the 1920 year, in which we had 719 people to respond. So we over doubled that. So we had over 1,582 people respond. So that was a positive that we were able to see. But as I talked about earlier, when you're able to look at the color coding, you'll see that there are all shades of green. So that means that something is occurring that is positive in terms of professional development, because for the rating is more on the green. There's nothing that is in the brown or tan color. I gave the next page example of descriptor and engagement because I wanted you to be able to see when we break those criteria down, and you're able to look at more at the descriptor and more information of what is being rated here. So then the next sheet that I'll share with you is the top 5 PD topics of interest. So we have tracked as a PDC committee, we have tracked the needs of staff over a period of time, and we're able to see where people have indicated some interest. And so we're able to address that in multiple ways. We're able to address that for the whole district in many cases. In some cases, it's individual requests. And in other cases, it is individuals where we may have a self-paced or individual support that may be needed. The next page, opportunities and next steps. This, again, comes specifically from the teachers, and this is a way for us to drill down a little bit more. And we're able to see what teachers are saying to us, what are their specific needs as a result of professional development that they participated. So we're able to see that from this report I'm sharing, that 49% of our staff are indicating that they are requesting time to collaborate with a colleague. And so where the button says drill down, if you were able to actually look at the system that we're using, you could push that and that button would give you the names of those individuals who are requesting that information. And that kind of moves to the next page. So a page would look similar to what's displayed here on the screen. So I have not provided you the specific names, but if we were talking about teacher A, then if I were a building principal, I would be able to look at this list, find the names of my teachers and find the names of the teachers that said they needed some more support and collaboration with colleagues, for those that wanted additional resources, or those that needed support with technology. Move to the next one. Opportunities and next steps. I love this section. There's always opportunities for next steps. This is what makes my job exciting. And so the opportunities, again, we're constantly reviewing the bylaws, always looking at where there is a need for improvement. We're looking at the needs assessment. We've already identified a couple of areas we feel like we need to work on so that we can drill down and make that more specific. We are looking at the turnaround school requirements and trying to see how we can bridge that into our work, and continuing to communicate, looking at choice and self-paced options. Moving to the next one, we're looking at increasing collaboration and certainly the implementation of various initiatives that we have within the district. And finally, focusing on the instructional coach program, looking at additional opportunities for networking and opportunities for collaboration, and always opportunities to enhance the mentoring program. That concludes my presentation at this time. I'll take any questions that you may have.
Are we going to our
We have exceeded, we have met that goal.
A lot of technology does reference development. I was just wondering what the gap. I don't.
Well, as you look at the new staff that come in, there is always a need. And so we may plan professional development, and so that teachers may feel that, you know, this is great, I have it, but they may want to move it and go to the next level. And so I try not to make assumptions by that information. So I just ask a lot of questions and try to drill down, talking to principals, talking to the instructional coaches, until I try to get to maybe response that's needed to help support teachers.
Part of now.
We work in collaboration. We work in collaboration.
Yes, how do you ensure that, especially new teachers, but not just defined to new teachers, that implementation of the professional development is done with fidelity? I know that as a new teacher, if I was a new teacher coming in January and you have benchmark literacy and you give me a training, of course, but how are you coming back, and not just for teachers, for everyone, make sure that whatever the professional development is, for the program or the initiative, that it's being implemented with fidelity, because we know that these programs work, provided they're done with fidelity. And is there follow? That's kind of one of my frustrations as a teacher, that there never seems to be follow-up to professional development. We learn about this new thing and we never talk about it again. And I go in teacher A's room and she has total buy-in, so she's doing everything that you taught her to do. Teacher B was kind of hesitant, didn't quite get it, and maybe not doing so well with it. So then we don't see the success of the program because they're not implemented with, because people aren't comfortable with it received in the training.
Yes, that's an excellent question. I would say that first of all, it takes a village. It takes a village, and so once information has been presented, and you have an opportunity, instruction coaches are providing supports on a building level. There is a level of support that comes from the building principal and additional supports within the building. So I'm constantly engaged in the collaboration with the buildings to try to find out what the needs are. And sometimes it's just a matter of that people may not fill out forms and tell me, so I may have to ask more questions to get to it. But one of the goals that we have for this year, and that is looking at the main goal of professional development, and that is the learning that's being presented, is it meeting the mark? Or are we getting to the bottom line? And to the bottom line means we're really making a connection to the scholars. So they have the new learning, but how is it being presented in the building? And what's the application, and how do we move to the next level? What data shows that there's a change, et cetera. And so that's kind of where we are at this point. So in our PDC, we met today, and that was part of our conversation. So we're going to begin the year. This is our last meeting today. So we're going to begin the year with that same conversation. What's the bottom line? We're doing all the PD, but are we making connections?
Are there scheduled follow-ups? For instance, scheduled follow-up PD for all staff, and also are the coaches and members of the school, are they helping to follow up to make sure that we're doing what we say we do?
Could I add to some of what Ms. Coleman is asking? While it may not be directed at a specific PD, when the instructional rounds are done in the buildings, a collective of individuals go to those buildings, they look at classroom instruction, they look at data, and they provide feedback. Also, the meetings are tied to the learning that our teachers do, and then the RFID meetings where she and I, along with the work that Austin is doing and our area supervisor, Karen Hall, they sit in, they do classroom observation, and then provide feedback on effective instruction strategies. So there's multiple ways that it's being done. While it might not be, well, this is a follow-up to this session, it is tied to instruction.
Any additional questions?
Thank you.
Our next item is for students in transition, the program evaluation for the 21-22 school year. Making this presentation is Dr. Tanya Patton, who is the Assistant for Student Services, and it's
No, she isn't.
It's in compliance with CSIP. Also, our legal reference to McKinney-Vento Act and consent decree and implementation plan for policy IGBCA programs for homeless students. This item is for informational purposes.
Thank you, Dr. Joyland. You took the first part of what I was going to say. So good evening, everyone, SAB members, Dr. Joyland and colleagues. The people that are responsible for, well, I'm overall, I'm responsible, but the people that are in our SIT office include Stephanie Shumpert, she's the SIT coordinator. Vanessa Mallory is the home to school coordinator, and Karen Graham is the administrative assistant. The updates made this year, we created a spreadsheet was created that was shared with all of the building principals so that they knew the names of all of their students. We also created a QR code that we use that families can just use their phone and take a snapshot of it. And once they do that, all of the enrollment paperwork pops up on their phone. We created invoices to build for shared transportation and local tax effort. We continue to work with our families to identify their needs and make sure all of their needs are met, from delivering hygiene products, detergents to coats, shoes, clothes. A lot of our partners help us to support that. You can go to the next slide, please. The goals and objectives of the SIT department is to remove all barriers for our student in transition population, to increase their attendance by meeting all of their needs, and to ensure that they are getting the same opportunities as our other students in the district. We adhere to the implementation plan, and it says there are 58 action items, but actually there are 76 action items that we continue to adhere to. Ways that we evaluate our progress is we use the SISK monitoring system. The home to school coordinator often goes out to visit with the students and their families to make sure their needs are being met. Stephanie Shumpert is in attendance at all of the bid meetings to determine what's best for these students and they move in. We continue to review and implement the implementation plan, and then we ensure that transportation is provided for all of our students. Next slide, please. Success of the program is based on data and analysis of effectiveness. We will continue to work to remove barriers for our SID students. We did have difficulty this year with transportation because transportation was an issue across our country. So we struggled a lot getting our transportation, but now we have about 7 or 8 cab services MOUs with them, and we continue to build partnerships with organizations that can provide transportation. We consistently monitor their grades, ensure they are connected to the school community, as well as to reconnect families on a regular basis. You can go to the next slide. Opportunities for next steps. We will continue to work closely with the principals, the district intervention coordinator, and leaders within our community to close the gap for our students. We will continue to establish connections for housing, food, clothing, and everything that our scholars need to be successful. We provide ongoing training to the personnel of our district to adhere to the McKinney-Vento rules and the McKinney-Vento laws. And we continue to develop systems for billing and accountability to make sure that we are billing for shared transportation and for our local tax effort students. Next slide. That ends my presentation. Are there any questions?
The process, making sure that parents, that they really are.
I'm glad you asked that question, Dr. Beckwith, because right now a parent can call in or a student can show up and say, I am a student in transition, and legally we have to enroll them immediately. After that, we can start the process of verifying if they are actually in our school district. We have been working very closely with our attorney to close that gap because we feel that there are some families that are in our district that shouldn't be here. So we had a meeting just Tuesday with the attorneys to figure out ways that we can close that gap because they are providing addresses that are within our district. They are saying that they live with their grandmother or aunts or uncles. Some other school districts hire investigators that actually go out to the home. Dr. CFO and we submitted, I call him Dr. CFO. Dr. CFO and we submitted a grant to hire an investigator to be able to go out to these homes and actually see if these families are living at the addresses that they're sharing. We haven't heard back yet, but we are trying to close that gap. I've reached out to the Hazelwood School District. They have an investigator, and I've asked them if we can team with them with their investigator and what cost that would be. So we are looking for ways to close that, but we believe that there are students in our district who should not be here. Yeah.
Find out.
Absolutely. That's why we reached out to the Hazelwood School District to find out who they were using and if we can team with them, and are there other investigators within the organization that they used. You're welcome. I'm sorry, Dr. Miranda, I'm not following your question.
They're not making the connection with the urban, beyond housing, those areas of housing. How they're not, or so they're not go down that. Also,
So Dr. Miranda, as far as I know, we have 626 SID students. None of them are actually homeless in terms of living in shelters. They're homeless in terms of living in the houses of other people. And so we are providing those, but it also gets down to credit repair, things like that we are trying to help them as well with our family engagement specialists. So they all have a roof over their head. It may not be their own roof, but
they have a roof over their head. And we are connecting them with community resources.
Question that I wanted to ask, I'm curious, sometimes people say that they in homeless or transition or what have you, and I'm just wondering how many of those situations could be students that got put out of a district and they need to have a district to attend, and so maybe they're using that as, have you encountered that at all in any kind of way?
Ms. Marrell, we had a student enroll not long ago that was actually suspended from another school district. But the laws say that we have to enroll them immediately and then do the investigation on the back end. And that's what we did. And once we found out that they were suspended from another school district, we contacted that parent to let them know that they would have to finish that suspension and she needed to provide proof that she lived within Riverview Gardens, and that student never returned. Thank you. I'm going to come up here for my presentation,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Yeah.
The next item is Missouri Turnaround Schools vendor selection. As you know, I've said before, in August of 2019, the Missouri State legislators approved the turnaround bill. And that was in compliance with State Statute 161, 1080 through 161, 11030. Try to remember. And then this past March, the commissioner, Dr. Margie Van, recommended state legislation to identify 3 schools in the state of Missouri as turnaround schools. The schools identified all happen to be in Riverview Gardens. They are Highland, Meadows, and Lewis and Clark. And so I'm going to turn it over. Joining me in this presentation, this is Elizabeth Austin. At the conclusion of our presentation, we have Mr. Ben Tiller here from Solution Tree, which is the vendor we are recommending. Again, item is in compliance with CSIP Goal 1, Effective Instruction, Board Policy IA, Instructional Goals and Priorities, and Board Policy IGAB, Instructional Intervention.
Thank you. In accordance with the School Turnaround Act, once schools have been identified, we are charged with starting a turnaround committee. And the turnaround committee is identified by our district and includes 1 school board member, 3 parents of students enrolled in the school, 4 teachers from the school appointed by the principal, and the district CFO. Additionally, we look at identifying a qualified turnaround expert, develop and implement the turnaround plan, and make regular reports to you, the Special Administrative Board. So we have identified our committee, and we also have additional members on our committee, such as our district leadership team, our C&I team, special school district team, and I should say C&I is curriculum instruction, our SSD, special school district team, and our counseling and guidance department. So our the first thing that happened is that the DLT took a look at proposals that were submitted. There were 6 proposals that were submitted, and each DLT member took a look at the proposals, and we vetted them and looked at each proposal with these things in mind. How much experience do they have in turnaround and as a company in general? Evidence of successful school turnaround, and we look very closely at their methodology and their approach that they would use with us. And what we were very specific about is the planning process they would use, doing needs assessments, looking at data analysis, doing goal setting, process monitoring, instructional coaching, and leadership coaching. So the 6 vendors you have in front of you were the Community Training and Assistance Center, Houghton Mifflin and Harcourt, which also has a subdivision called International Center in Education, Solution Tree, Education Direction LLC, Engage Learning LLC, and Focus School LLC. So on May 2nd, turnaround committee met. There were 29 of our committee members present. We interviewed 3 vendors, and the vendors that we interviewed were Community Training and Assistance Center, the Houghton Mifflin and Harcourt International Center in Education Division, and Solution Tree. And again, we chose those by looking at the years of service, evidence of successful turnaround, and the proposed methodology. After we did interviews with each of the 3 vendors, each committee member had the opportunity to fill out a form, indicate which company they thought would best develop and implement with the turnaround committee a turnaround plan, provide support and improvement services, and succeed in helping us with the criteria. I'm going to go ahead and share the results of the survey, in which every member had the opportunity to give input. The Community Training and Assistance Center was almost at 7%. They received votes of 6.9%. Houghton Mifflin Harcourt International Center of Education, 34.5%. And an overwhelming number of committee members were in favor of going with Solution Tree at 58.6%. We know that Solution Tree has delivered professional development here in Riverview Gardens School District, as well as educators around the world. For nearly 25 years, they've collaborated with school districts, and they work consistently toward student achievement and have a wide range of services, including professional learning. So we know that Solution Tree will be able to do needs assessments, project planning, leadership coaching, embedded coaching, data analysis, and evidence-based professional development, along with content-specific training. And they've assured us they could do more, including whatever it is that really needs to move our schools forward. The cost is going to be covered by debt. If you want to, okay. Year 1, the first year is called a remedial year, and that cost, again, entirely covered by DESI, is $159,400. Year 2 is $221,670, and year 3 is $221,670. So the total for 3 years, $602,640. Again, completely covered.
I had the opportunity to do the reference check entry. That was one of the things that the committee asked that I do. Another portion was there were some lingering questions that we also sent to Solution Tree about community engagement and what that would look like. What would it look like if we wanted to expand the district and so forth. What was impressive for me when I did the reference checks were the glowing reviews I received from every. The one that stood out the most for me was the one that came out of Texas. I talked to a lady from the State Department of Education, and she indicated that when they started with Solution Tree, they started with, I think it was 19 or 17 schools, and it has now grown to 77 across the state. While they knew they were working to turn around for academic performance, there were some other, caveats to it that were not expected. One was the issue of equity, that they really began to see that there was a high percentage of students of color were not achieving. There was a high percentage of students of color who were not moving forward into honors AP. There was a high percentage of young men of color going into special education. And that as a result of their work with Solution Tree, they had more young people who were coming out of special education. Teachers were looking at students with a more equitable lens and giving all students, because the key piece to what was being done was more individualized, a small piece for each student. It was really focused on individualization. The other piece that came out of that was their students who were ELL students. English as a second language students were being exited out as well. She then said, which really hit me, was it was the best teacher recruitment and retention tool that they had. That people who were leaving the district, and people are leaving our district, once they realized that there was a real centralized focus on student performance, they didn't want to leave. They said it was the best professional development that they had had because it caused everybody to be on the same page, moving in the same direction with the same desired outcome. And so as a result, teachers are telling other teachers, this is where you want to come and work. And so it is our hope that if the board approves Solution Tree tonight, our hope is that we will be able to replicate the work that Solution Tree will be doing with those 3 schools for the rest, our other 10 schools, and move our district forward in one term. Each of you has received tonight your personalized turnaround school binder. In this binder, you have the agenda from our first meeting. You have a statute. Each of you has the opportunity to read the 60-plus page of the 6 proposals, plus you have the 3 summaries which we created. So as we continue to meet, we will continue to update your binder. What will happen next is, should the board approve Solution Tree, then tomorrow morning we will notify the State Department of the approval. They will immediately contact Solution Tree and we'll start the work around developing the plan. It is our goal to have the plan to the State Department by June 24th, I think whatever that second meeting is in June. That way the state can encompass funds so we can get busy. Also, you were given tonight by Ben Tilly, who is our representative from Solution Tree, School Improvement for All, and it's written by Sharon Kramer. And it's my understanding Sharon Kramer will be our point of contact. So if you have any questions, Mr. Tiller, you can come over. Is here to, along with Austin and myself, to answer any questions that you have. I don't know if any other members of the committee would like to say anything about the process.
It is a real pleasure to be here with you this evening and to be considered as a partner in the work with Riverview Gardens. So thank you very much for that consideration. So Solution Tree, as Dr. Pruitt Adams said, has been in existence for 25 plus years. And what I believe makes Solution Tree strong are our people. The people that will be doing the work at Solution Tree through Riverview Gardens and in your schools are all people that have done the work. They have been in schools. They are considered experts in their area. We also have content areas where we'll have experts working at your school. But Sharon Kramer, who is the author with Sarah Schul of School Improvement for All, Sharon will be the lead contact. Sharon works with all of the schools that are in priority or turnaround status, and she directs the work of all of our associates that will be coming in and working with individual schools. What questions could I answer for you? Yes. all right. No. Our team is made up of individuals who are from around the United States. We now have international team members as well. Our composition of our company as a whole is varied. Are predominantly a female teachers, former administrators make up a large percentage of our staff. We do have a diverse staff. We have ELL specialists that work within our schools. We have a variety of individuals, but it is predominantly a white female organization. I'll just be honest with you. That's a statute as well. When the statute was written, it was written in as the first year being called a remedial year. Now, with looking at the timelines that the state has put together, we may have to do some adjusting and move some days earlier in order to get the work accomplished. But that is something that we can do within the contract period. But the remedial year was meant to just be a year of sort of getting things started, getting the work going. But it is starting earlier than what we anticipated with what the state had originally put together. So we hope to be able to get boots on the ground sooner and be well into the process as we move into the next school year. So to answer that, I would say that we will work very closely, especially Dr. Kramer and the associates that are within the building, with the leadership within those buildings. But then there are conversations that also have at the district level. And we talk about success of schools and what is a need, be able to keep moving forward with progress with those schools. So typically it is a conversation that is, we contribute to that conversation, but that is a district decision that is made.
The other piece ties to what they do. One of the people that we really follow is PLC. And so as a PLC will also give us the opportunity for us to build up on those things that we have in the system that are working there. Also enhance those things.
The entire process will be focused around a needs assessment. It'll be a 2-day process at each building. And then based on that needs assessment, then our team will work with the school turnaround committee for each building in order to write an improvement plan. And we looked at the improvement plans in 30, 60, and 90-day cycles because we want to be able to attack, what we need to quickly, and to be able to watch growth and to be able to look at those milestones as we move forward with with the process. So then it's a matter of setting new goals. We want to make sure that we're always in front of the information and looking at the data and what we need to do next in the process. We do. So associates with Solution Tree, we have over 500 associates, and we are increasing our number of associates. An associate has to go through a pretty stringent vetted process before they are allowed to go out and work in schools and represent our organization. But then within the priority school work, there are about 60 associates that have specific certification to be able to work with schools. Right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The next item is also mine. It's an item for discussion, and it is proposed 2022 pilot summer work hours. The board has had the opportunity to look at what I am proposing. I had in both my previous school districts instituted reduced summer, not reduced summer hours, it was called flex. And when I was in University City, we worked an additional hour a day and was able to close the office at noon on Friday. We found that as a team, we took that extra hour to collaborate more. That summer, we got a lot more projects done than usual. What it did for the maintenance team, that some of them could flex, and this is also it is not mandatory. We will always find that someone chooses just to work the standard schedule. In Oak Park, we actually worked 2 hours additional every day. And then we closed on Friday because we had construction going on, and it allowed us to be out of the building when they were doing the construction. But people seemed happier, we found, in doing it at both locations. We had fewer people taking weeks and weeks of vacation in the summertime because they had that long weekend that they could look forward to. In terms of productivity, what I observed, we did have higher productivity. With regards to accountability, supervisor is still responsible for signing off on their direct reports attendance sheet. They have also the latitude to check, see if someone is taking vacation and adding on. They will have the opportunity to check productivity as well. And so it is my hope that when we come back at the next board meeting, that the board will approve the pilot of the summer hours. We did reach out today to which of our surrounding school districts are doing it. By surrounding school districts, we reached out to Jennings. Jennings does have reduced summer hours. We reached out to Ferguson Florissant, they do not. We have not heard back from Hazelwood. We reached out to Richmond, they do not. And we also reached out to University City, and they do. I will take any questions at this time. Oh, I forgot. This is in compliance with nothing. There's no policy. I checked.
Program.
I'm glad you asked that. When we look at our summer school programming, each building offers a different summer school programming, and it is Monday through Friday. Normally, what I do is I always make sure that there's someone at the district level who can make the decision. So either I am on call or there are 4 other members of my team who have superintendent certification in case, and we could rotate. But if we're all here on Fridays, a half day, most of the time we'll get those things handled. Our principals are all 12 months as well. And so there's will also be that additional supervision in each building.
Normal.
But I've checked in the district, depends on, I'm gonna ask Monica to come up and help me with this. I'm trying to get in my head. The normal work day for depending on the classification could be 7:30 to 4.
How many hours?
Oh, how many hours? It's an 8-hour day for the uncertified staff, 8-hour day, 2 break, and a 30 lunch. And they would still be doing a 40-hour week. Any other questions of me? Thank you. The next item for discussion is the paper online tutoring service. And bringing forth that presentation is a comeback from our previous meeting, making that presentation is Dr. Phil Kennedy. Joining him is Mr. Alama. Did I say that correct? From PACE.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt Adams, colleagues, and community. As Dr. Pruitt Adams stated, I was here at the last board meeting to present paper online tutoring as an item for discussion. Several questions arose, which I did not have the answers to, most of them stemming around a 3-year agreement. If you notice that I amended the board doc to include option 1 as a 1-year agreement, or there's option 2, which is a 3-year agreement. Some of the questions that were asked, can we, if we sign a 3-year agreement, can we, and the students are not using it, can we get out of that? And there is language in the service agreement that says that we can get out of that within 30-day notice. Another question was asked, do you have to pay the amount in one payment? Mark Hollerman had worked with his finance department, and they have arranged to where they quickly can make a repayment, one in June this year, one in July of this year, and one in July of 2023. Again, the rationale for doing a 3-year agreement was to save cost. But again, I certainly understand that that is a lot of money to commit to, and it could be that maybe 1 year would be the best to see if it actually sticks to that. One of the other questions that was asked, not 3-year related, was that whenever a student submits a report into paper, is it checked for plagiarism? And yes, it is. Tutors check it for plagiarism. There was also some other questions that I received today around the success of the program in the districts that they are currently in, and the students that it impacts. Now, I asked Mr. Allerman to come up and he could address that. I shared the questions with him this morning, and he was graciously volunteering his time. He grew up in Kansas City today to address any other questions that the board might have.
Evening. Thank you for allowing me to join you this evening. Any questions that you know, I'll do my best to address.
I did have a question. Well, first of all, let me apologize because apparently some of my questions weren't clear as to what I was addressing. When I asked the question about the after-school tutoring like that, I was not speaking of this program. I was trying to find out programs that we're currently using how success we're experiencing before your program. I noticed, and I did ask a question about where was the data to show the success of the program, and looking at the information that I received, I given 3 links to stuff, and that didn't seem to answer the question for me. It
Sure.
gave me information as to who was purchasing the program and where it was being used, but I didn't see any information that specifically said this is the success that we're experiencing. And District ABC had 547 students who logged on, and 300 of those logged on weekly, and I didn't see that type of reporting of success. So that's what I'm asking. Where is the data for the success of the program?
Right. So in terms of success rate, it tends to be measured differently by each district that we partner with, right? So some districts that we partner with want to see a high level engagement from their students. Others just want to have it on as another offering to their students. They can tell their school community that this is available to them, that they've provided this to their student body. In terms of specific percentages, I don't have exact information by school district that I can share with you, partly due to the contracts that we have and partly due to data privacy, and partly due to time frame. So if you're looking for a specific engagement rate, I can work on getting more detailed information for you. That said, the question I would pose is, what is success look like? What does success look like to your district? Where do you see value in bringing on a 24/7 tutor?
I guess I'm asking for the success with the increase student performance. Success would look like higher grades. Success would
Sure.
look like improvement in writing and reading comprehension. For instance, in speaking of the papers and the essay, I would assume that that would more likely be utilized more often by a high school student. And so I guess I would look to see how has this student's writing improved? Is there actually some growth in his or her grade? Is the student ready for the ACT now when they are writing for the SAT or something like that?
Is it, if I might, is it possible that you give us the schools and we ask them, you're right about the privacy laws, and we do kind of like what I did with Solution Tree, a reference
Sure.
check?
Yeah, absolutely. And there are specific schools that we can get you in contact with, or specific members within those districts that we work with. And then they can kind of share their stories and their statistics that they're seeing. We can pull certain numbers out, certain numbers obviously strictly pull out in terms of what they're seeing year over year, how their graduation rates are increasing, or how testing rates might be increased. But that would be information that they would need to share with you in terms of getting in contact with those people. I could certainly do.
Do you have any clients in the metropolitan St. Louis area?
We don't. So that was one of the reasons we were able to actually come back on that 3-year contract term with a little bit more of a discount, is because this would be our second in-state of Missouri contract. Our first in-state Missouri contract is Webb City. We do have some on the other side of the river, the Illinois side, that I can certainly get you contacts with as well. Way our company has grown is we started off with a large amount of growth in California, and we saw that translate into East Coast, Florida, and as our company grew, we just didn't have representatives like myself in the Midwest. As a matter of fact, I started out on the East Coast team. We built out a Midwest team. So I live in Kansas City. I jumped at the chance to join the Midwest team and specifically asked for Missouri as my territory, with my personal goal to get this tool to many of our Missouri students. And so a long-winded answer to your question, no, there aren't any in the exact St. Louis metro area. Yes, we are at kind of the tip of the spear in Missouri. That said, as a company as a whole, we work with over 150 districts in the United States. Very large districts, small districts, everything in between. We've been in business for just over 8 years, and we are on a tremendous growth path. So not only do I see right now being a great opportunity for the district and your students in the district to have access to these tools, I see those becoming more robust and more improved offerings as we continue to grow.
How long have you been in Webb City?
I'm sorry?
How long have you been in Webb City?
We've been with Webb City, I want to say 6 months. I don't have the exact date that launched within Webb City. It is fairly recent. Yes, sir.
For Dr. Kennedy, in your agenda item, you state that funding was the answer. Don't mention the funding source. But for a 3-year contract, ESSA can't pay for all of it because it will only be around 2 years. And the question I asked, and you responded to, you then mentioned Title I. So if I'm correct, it has to be a combination of ESSA and Title I. Is that correct? And my point is, and I continue to say this, agenda items have to stand on their own. Okay. And your agenda item, you didn't mention any other funding source, but ESSA, and then you recommended a 3-year contract, which ESSA can't pay for only.
additional questions? Well, my question, I don't know, maybe Dr. Kennedy can answer or someone else. And this would be helpful for me in deciding whether or not it's beneficial to purchase another online program in regards to the platforms that Riverview Gardens currently uses to launch in Google Classroom. I would like to know if teachers report that students are logging into those platforms regularly, or are teachers struggling with getting students to use the online program? Because as a teacher, I can tell you many times people tell me my kids aren't logging in, my students aren't logging in. So that would certainly be helpful in helping to make a decision. I'd also like to know, are students utilizing the in-person after-school program? I think at this point, my feeling is that students need to have that personal contact. So the after-school programs that you currently have in place, are students joining in on those programs at the elementary level? How, we have the number, what about at the secondary, including middle school and high school? Are they attending those programs regularly? And what is the measure of their success? Are you seeing improved grades, improved district level assessment scores? What are the strategies and devices that are used in the after school program? I'm not saying, are you taking this like this program? I would not use this program with an after school program. That's like, now I'm gonna pay double. I'm gonna pay for the program and then I'm gonna pay for a teacher to sit and watch the kid use the program. That's not a real good use of our resources. So what successes are we seeing with the programs that are already implemented at this time, not in reference to paper? What about the use of the online program? Like, I know during the day, if I'm sitting in the classroom, teacher says log in, I'm gonna log in. What about when I get home? Am I logging in to finish the assignments? Am I completing my launch assignments? Am I logging in? Not in relation to paper. I want to know what Riverview Garden students are currently doing now with the programs that you have in place. You have launch and Google Classroom. So when the students go into launch, I didn't finish my assignment. Am I going home? Am I finishing it? Am I logging into launch on AMI days? Am I completing those assignments? Am I logging in? We could try to gather that.
Dr. Representative, I asked a question similar to this at your first presentation, whether or not this could be tailored, meaning I know that the letter says to all students and all, but I see that there apparently is some flexibility for the program to tailor, because according to the Webb City High School website, Webb City City School website, this program is offered to students in the 5th to 12th grade. So with the cost, I remember reading $3 and some cents per student. Would the cost vary if we chose certain grades and or well, I'll leave the hours thing away. I just personally don't see why I couldn't have been on the phone at 3 o'clock in the morning doing anything without But I know things are different.
Yes,
So,
I understand. I was very much like you. I would say I'm in middle school. My oldest daughter is in middle school, and she stays up way later than I do. And they are very used to being on their devices at night. That said, yes. So you can choose grade levels if you'd like to have access to papers. And then we ask that you then supply paper to every student in those grade levels. That said, price is dictated by the enrollment, right? So the more students that are enrolled, so looking at this case, K through 12, the lower the price per student. When you I want to say shorten that window, but that's not it.
tailor it.
Yes, so when you choose different grade levels and the enrollment number goes down, then the price per student goes up.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Before we go to the next item, I do want to acknowledge to the board and realize that this meeting is a little bit longer than usual, but because we have to shorten the meeting on the 24th because of the state board's community forum, there were some items that we just needed to get in today. So I do want to acknowledge that. The next item is our revised high school program of study. Making that presentation is Ms. Tanya Ross, who is the coordinator. This item is in compliance with CSIP Goal 1, Effective Instruction and Performance, and Policy IA, Instructional Goals, Priorities, and Objectives. It is recommended that the special appointed board approve the revised high school program of study for the 22-23 school year at the conclusion of this.
Good evening, Special Administrative. Thank you. Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt Adams, colleagues and school community. I am offering up for discussion on tonight the revision of the program of study for our high school for the 2022-2023 school year. Some of you might recall that I came in February with a similar program of study, but we wanted to bring it back for our new board members. And also since then, we have 3 courses that would like to be added to the program of study. The program of study, basically in the nutshell, is a comprehensive approach to the academics and the career and technical education that we offer for our scholars. Annually, we revise and review the program of study. It is to include a rigorous and relevant, cutting edge offerings for our students so that they are both college and career ready. We would like to add Honors English 3, Honors English 4, and Honors Biology to our program of study. The general purpose of the program of study is to make sure that our students are provided with a promising future to where they are ready to take on the world. It's aligned with our mission and our vision statement, where our students are given the foundational skills and knowledge, in addition to being college and career ready, also offered opportunities for post-secondary a degree or an industry recognized certificate or credential in the case of our career and technical education programs. Our staff, our teachers, and our counselors work with our scholars and their families to make sure that our scholars are making short-term and long-term goals. Our program of study is aligned to the MSIP student performance goal. In our program of study, our students find a description of the course or courses that are being provided, assistance with long-term and short-term goals, and a sequence of academic and career educational coursework, as I mentioned before, that leads to certification in some industries and credentials. It is recommended for our next board meeting that our high school program of study is approved. Are there any questions?
Not a question. I just think an idea, bad additional,
Thank you.
I wasn't sure, Ms. Abbott, that's all training for Abbott, so they have Abbott in the house.
Yes, we do have AVID in our high school and our middle school, and one of our elementary schools is piloting at the AVID program as well.
Thank you. The next item is the Parents as Teachers Missouri Partnership. Bringing this item forward is Dr. Amita Meeks Williams, Director of Early Childhood, and Ms. Sonia Clay, Parent as Teachers Coordinator. This item is in compliance with CSIP Goal 1. There is a budgetary impact. It is also aligned to policy IGBC, Parent and Family Involvement and Engagement. Thank you.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt Adams, colleagues, and community. Tonight, we offer for discussion the options for our Parents as Teachers program. Our Parents as Teachers program is a vital parent component at Michelle Obama Early Childhood Academic Center. As of July 1st, 2022, area school districts will have two options for the Parents as Teachers program. Option A is Missouri Curriculum Partner, and option B is the Parents as Teachers affiliate. I have Ms. Sonia Clay here, our Parents as Teachers coordinator. She's going to continue with our presentation.
So, Dr. Williams stated, DESE and Parents as Teachers National Center has entered into an agreement effective July 1st, 2022. And so, so today I'm just going to present the changes and also what we recommend. So, well, the last slide. But anyway, okay. Option A. All right. Okay. All right. So school districts will use the above name Parents as Teachers Missouri Curriculum Partner. The school district will just pay the annual subscription fee for parent educators, for $310. But DESE will pay the annual fee of $650, which is the program fee. Being a Missouri curriculum partner, the emphasis is universal access. And what that means is that DESE has lifted or waived the compliance serving 75% high needs families and 25 non-high needs. So the families get a chance to really choose. So right now, they're basically requiring the district to much mirror the demographics in the district. With DESE, we no longer have to meet the 90-day compliance of completion of developmental screening, as long as they're done within the program year. Families will continue to receive the services, person visits, developmental screenings, group connections, and being connected to resources. We still have access to the Parents as Teachers foundational curriculum 1 and 2. And then also DESE will offer professional development that aligns with the Parents as Teachers curriculum. Next slide. Option B, Parents as Teachers will use the same name, but let me just kind of just revert. Being a curriculum partner right now, there is a logo that's being created specifically for curriculum partners. and parents as teachers will also change their logo. School district will pay a program fee of $1,350 annually. And then the following year in 23-24, the fees increase to $1,500. In the school year of 24-25, fees will be $1,500. Keep in mind, this is a discounted fee. So we're currently paying, I know, at least $2,000 now. But because of the new agreement that they've come to, they discounted the price. School districts must meet these central requirements to be recognized. As it stands right now, we are provisional affiliate. Okay, and we have been, there was never a plan submitted. So I know that you received that document. There was never a plan submitted. So with, in the event that, you all decide on option B, then the plan would have to be submitted by May 31st. But it is still subject to be approved. And also, and along with that, I just want to also say that this is something new with the parents and teachers nationally. They have never required. Next slide, please. Okay. These are our challenges. We have not met the essential requirements. There are 21. We've met 19. And it's been consecutive since 2017 and to the present. So the National Center requires that we serve families for 2 years, and then they want us to meet the visit frequency of doing visits twice a month with high needs families. Most of our families are high needs. However, with the demographics, it's been a challenge. Just to mention a few, retention of families has been a challenge. Job loss of housing, moving out of the district, parents, suddenly stopping their participation due to family or job demand. These are just a few, okay? Our visit frequency right now, visit frequency 2 is at 36%. When I'm very much data driven. So from January, when I first took the position, we were at 25%. Visit frequency 1, we've always been like 90-something%. Okay. But it has increased. It was at 25 and now we're at 30. So we're making progress. The outcomes were at 11%. Now we're at 27%. So we have and then of course the pandemic that affected our numbers. So the first, in March of 2020, we had to shift going into home to virtual. And a lot of families were not prepared. They weren't even set up. We weren't even prepared, to be honest. But we made the change. And then since then, the following year, we offered in-person visits at Michelle Obama. And then also during that process, we served less families. Recruitment was a challenge because most organizations weren't even allowing you to go into the building. So we had to drop off a flyer or either send it digitally. Our biggest effort recruitment has always been at the early childhood center. Like during the open enrollment, it's been ongoing. But with the parents not being able to come into the building, that has been a challenge. Face-to-face contact is we have provided flyers. Now, since then, we have increased our recruitment. So we've gone back out into the community as things are opening up now, dropping off flyers, information to, and reestablishing a relationship with childcare providers that we have partnered with, just to let them know, hey, we're still around. Previously, we were around, but they did not want virtual screening. They didn't want that. They wanted it first. So we're getting in. So families are coming in through, through daycares, through another organization, another parents and teachers program, Raising St. Louis, are sending us referrals. I also do first steps transition meetings. I'm in recruiting families. Word of mouth, we're calling in, so the numbers are coming. And the numbers have been coming off and on. It seems like as if we'll get a family and then something happens, we exit them, for those very reasons of the demographic. So that's been the challenge. But since then, my strategy now is to upload visits. I also offer more visits to those high needs families that could benefit more and that were willing to do more visits. And that has helped to increase our visit frequency. Also, we're offering a hybrid of service, virtual, in person, on site. On site. We plan to go back into the home. We have to watch the numbers. We're waiting on direction from the district. We're doing it safely. Outdoors, park. So we're striving. Like I said, our numbers are increasing. I feel really good about it. I'm happy about being in a position. I love what I do. I've been in parents and teachers for many years. So this is not nothing that's new to me. I know it. So we believe that this option A is the best solution for our program. We need to restructure. We need to recover, and just pretty much get our feet moving and get back to work, and rebuild where we were. And I have high expectations, and I know we can do it because I have a team of parent educators that we're on board. They give a lot of input. I don't have all the ideas, so I listen, and we have been successful. We have our motto is to finish strong, and we can do it. And our program year ends May 13th, and the new program year begins on May 16th. So we're a 12-month program. There's no stop. This concludes my presentation. If you have any questions. Of services prenatal to kindergarten entry. No, they do have to be part of the district. Okay. Part of, yes. But the childhood so they're going out doing like ASQ. We do ASQ. I facilitate the dial for training. I've been doing that for years. So I'm in the process. I'm getting ready to train all my staff. Because we have to go back into the daycares, and of course we have to screen the children at Michelle Obama. An enrollment. That's right. Right. Well, they're still in our district. It's the partnership that we have with the daycare. Right. So, and in the past, we have really been able to screen a lot of children because we know just being in our building, we're not serving the population. We cannot meet the allocation. There's no way. We have to get out.
Thank you. Our next item is Gibson walk-in cooler freezer replacement. This item is in compliance with our district policy, DJF purchasing and DD grant. Making this presentation is Shannon Abrams. Joining her is Dr. CFO.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt Adams, school community and colleagues. This evening, I have RFP 262, the Gibson Elementary walk-in replacement. The Gibson Elementary walk-in is 30 years old, over 30 years old. It is a two-compartment walk-in cooler and freezer unit. Right now, the freezer unit is non-operational. We do use the cooler side of the fridge of the walk-in at this time. This will expand our ability to hold food items that are perishable in our district. Will be able to expand the capacity of the perishable items that we hold. It will increase our food safety and food security with the installation of this new unit. We had two vendors to bid on this project. We had Douglas Equipment and we also had a bid from Bettler LLC. This evening, I'm recommending that we accept the proposal from Bettler LLC at a cost of $77,300. I did have a grant award from the National School Lunch Equipment Assistant Grant. So at the completion of the project, we would receive a reimbursement of $25,000 from the Missouri Department of Education from the Food and Nutrition Services Department. I did add a 10% contingency to this budget, bringing the full total to $85,030. So it is my recommendation that we move forward with the services with Bettler LLC to complete this project and for approval at our next board meeting. Are there any questions?
Yes. Got it. Yeah, but we're not spending enough. Are we doing a better job of spending the funds?
With the completion of this project, this will help us to expand our food service funds. Previously, we received letters when I found documents from the previous director where Desi urged us to what they call spend down our balance. So we did not give any money back. They just encouraged us to spend our budget down so that we were in alignment with the 3 months of operating fund balance for our department. Other questions?
Thank you. The next item for discussion is the revised teacher salary schedule for 22-23. Making this presentation is Monica Williams, Superintendent of Human Resources, and Title IX Coordinator, and Dr. Levon Singleton, Chief Financial Officer. Conclusion, it is recommended that the Special Administrative Board approve the revised 2022-2023 teacher salary schedule, which reflects a 5% increase in each step, and the recommendations will be presented later this month. With policy GCBA, professional staff compensation, and policy GDBA, support staff compensation.
Good evening again, Special Administrative Board. As you know, the board approved a 5% salary increase for the 2022-2023 school year. However, after we reviewed the teacher salary schedule, again, we noticed a clerical error in some of the cells. So after correcting those errors, there was a change in the amount. So for the teacher salary schedule, the projected budgeted amount is down $856,155.45 instead of $859,721.72. And then for the estimated total overall budget, it is now $1,404,994.52. I think I said that right. And then, but it was $1,408,560.79.
That concludes the items for discussion.
Now move to item number 9, which is approval of the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We now have two items for action. The first item is A, the Return Around Food Act Vendor Selection Solution Treatment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item is item B, revised teacher salary schedule for the 2022 school year.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And finally, with no other business to discuss, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.